Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Big League Dreaming, the podcast, a show about baseball, dreams, and family. I'm John Gonzalez, the host, along with three of his sons. Actually, all three of the sons. That's pretty funny. I am the dad. They're the sons, and this is a family podcast where we get together and talk about baseball. If this is your first time, well, we appreciate you coming by. As you can see, it's fun. I mean, we all live in different parts of the country, and it's fun to get together once a week to talk about some aspect of the game. This week's topic is a little interesting because we're near the All-Star break or just coming out of the All-Star break, and I think this is about the time of year where you sit back and you make some evaluations. The players you thought were going to do good maybe aren't doing that good. The players that you expected to do well but somehow never pan out actually are doing well this year. It can be a little bit of everything. It's fun to talk with your friends, or in this case, your family, about the game. Let's introduce all of today's guest hosts. Let's start with son number one. He is Zach Gonzalez, the Mariners fan based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Zach, how you doing over there?
I'm doing great. It's always great for all of us, like all four of us, to get on an episode together and talk baseball. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and Zach still stays in baseball by working part-time over at the Charlotte Knights, doing some stuff in the press box. And how the Knights been doing this year? I saw they were in last place.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Okay.
They're doing better than last year. Last year was a very, very bad season for them. A lot of these young prospects are starting to get called up to AAA for the White Sox. Like you said, they're at the bottom of the standings, bottom like two teams typically. But the good thing is the wins and losses in the minor leagues don't matter. It's all about development and some big trades potentially on the way for Chicago. So even more big name prospects coming to Charlotte soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I won't tell you why I've been following AAA baseball lately, but that's for maybe a little later in the podcast or another podcast. But I've been paying attention to the Charlotte Knights a lot more these days. Let's go to son number two. He's based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He's the Mets fan, and it's been an up and down season for your Mets. Ty, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been an interesting season for the Mets, but I still got hope. You have to. You never know. The amazing Mets.
Amazing Mets, along with the big purple guy to bring them along for the ride. Let's go to son number three. He's based in South Bend, Indiana. He's also still in baseball. He's the associate head coach at Indiana University at South Bend, an NAIA school, the Titans. It's Zane Gonzalez. Zane, how you doing?
Doing well. Excited to be back on.
Left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter. Zach was a left-handed pitcher, left-handed hitter. Ty, you can do everything. Pitcher,
right.
catcher, first base, third base, bat righty. Could play left field, could be a lefty batter too. You know, just put him in the lineup. He'll wreck it, right, Ty?
That's right. I think I could still get a hit off some of Zane's pitchers right now.
Oh,
Probably.
I've seen some podcaster out there that's what he does. He's like an overweight, like middle-aged guy, and he'll have these like prospects throwing at him and bringing gas like 95 miles an hour. He's trying to like, maybe foul tip the ball or whatever. Have you seen this guy at all?
No, I haven't.
Okay, we will have to get him on the podcast sometime. He was
awesome.
he was trying to hit against a woman that was a pitcher, and she was chucking it pretty good. She was like in the low to mid 80s, no, low 80s, I would say. And he couldn't even. He barely hit the ball off of her. I mean, he tried to, but yeah. Imagine me. Well, actually, we can imagine. Remember that, Ty? Or I'm sorry, Zane, when you had to get some bullpen session in when you were still playing college baseball, we pulled over somewhere on the way to visit Zach.
Oh, I remember that.
We pulled over out of West Virginia somewhere for you to throw a bullpen in some random baseball field.
Yep. Yeah, we were on our way to visit Zach, and it was my senior year at college, and I was like, hey, I got to throw a bullpen today, and we were driving through West Virginia, and we were like, oh, there's a field right there, and we pulled off, and Dad, you were like, oh, I can catch you, because Ty had to do some sort of Zoom call or something. So
I was
Ty
doing a test.
Yeah, he had to do a test or something, and Dad, you're like, I can catch you, and after one pitch, you're like, no, never mind, just throw it into the fence.
I rigged up the mitt to be hanging down from the fence. Like, oh, here it is. Here's your target. That first pitch came in, and Zane wasn't even half warmed up yet. He was just starting to get loosened and everything. Like, that ball was moving like crazy, and I'm like, there's no way I'm catching this ball. Dove out of there. Zach, you should have seen it. I was,
Was
like,
that
not even.
was
Didn't
that
help
for
that you had the
Christmas?
plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's for
yeah.
Christmas. Didn't help that you had the plastic toy mitt from Smalls.
That's true. That is true. But well, so
He had like a white cap souvenir glove.
today's topic is about some of the best players that have had good seasons this year in the MLB. Like I said, we're coming off the All-Star game, and um, it's been a good year, I think, overall for baseball. There's been some great highlights, some achievements that we thought we would never see before. It's off to a good start of the year, and we expect big things as we head into the get ready for the postseason. What teams are going to make the playoffs, and then of course the World Series, our favorite, our second. It's probably our favorite time of the year. Wouldn't you say? I mean, All-Star break is one of our favorite times of the year, but World Series time. I mean, come on, Zach. Watching the game, even if your teams aren't in it, you're hanging on every pitch.
Yeah, I 100%. Although last year, or not last year, 2022, when the Mariners made the playoffs, and I actually got to see some Mariners playoff games for the first time in a very long time, it was like totally different than just watching a World Series matchup of two teams I didn't care about. Want to talk about hanging on every pitch? Yes, I was freaking out.
And of course, Zane, you remember when we went down to Co-America to watch Tigers play the Red Sox in a playoff game a few years back, and that was exciting, thrilling, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was. I want to say it was a 1-0 ball game. I want to say it was like someone hit a solo home run, and that was like the only
Nelson
score there
Cruz.
was.
Nelson Cruz.
No, I don't think
Yeah,
it was Nelson Cruz.
It was.
No, it was.
That ball's still going.
Oh my goodness.
That was 2014. That was more than a few years ago. That was 10 years ago.
Was it 2014?
I think it was 13.
13, 11 years ago.
Ty,
2013.
Did you go to the game too?
Yeah, I was there.
I remember Zane. I remember Mom being there, and you went too.
Yeah, I was there. I remember Mom getting mad because some Tigers fan was throwing beer at Zane, like heckling him because the Red Sox scored and Zane stood up and started clapping. And some guy threw beer at him.
Okay, I remember that now. Yes, you were there.
Classic Tigers fans.
Oh yeah, and you wouldn't see anything like that in Boston at Fenway Park.
Mom was like, "He's 15."
Oh my goodness! So we have a lot to happen before we get to the All-Star, before we get to the World Series, I should say. Let's talk about some of our favorite picks for the 2024 first half of the season. Someone that really impressed us, had a good first half, and either we expected it, didn't expect it, came out of the blue. Let's start with Zach's son, number one. Your pick for the breakout season so far in 2024.
Yeah, so the guy that has impressed me the most so far has been Gunnar Henderson, and it's just because he's an all-around player, can do every facet of the game, and guys like Bobby Witt Jr., you kind of know going into 2024 that he's going to be one of the top guys, and we knew that Gunnar would probably be up there as well. But there's a lot of hype around Jackson Holliday and Adley and all these other stars that Baltimore has. What happens when Jackson Holliday gets called up? Is he going to play short? What's going to happen with Gunnar? Is he going to go to third? No, Gunnar Henderson's the shortstop. Jackson Holliday is going to play second. And Jackson Holliday got called up and he didn't perform. And who is the all-star? Gunnar Henderson. He's just been so great all season long. I mean, up to the All-Star break, he leads the league in WAR. His WRC plus, he is fourth, 173. League average is 100. Aaron Judge is leading it, 202. Shohei Ohtani, 187. Juan Soto, 177. And then Gunnar Henderson is number 4 with a 173 WRC plus. So he's not only doing it defensively, but he can also be an extremely productive hitter at the plate. At the time we're recording this, Gunnar Henderson is third in the league in hits, has 27 home runs, which is third in the league behind Aaron Judge and Ohtani. 61 RBIs, 47 walks, 97 strikeouts, 14 stolen bases. So he's also stealing bags, but he's fourth in OPS, just all around having an amazing season. And looking for the Orioles to make a deep run in the playoffs, he's going to be the guy everybody's going to be looking to have at the plate in those big moments in the playoffs to be the MVP in the World Series. If that's where they end up, he's going to be the guy that the Orioles want to be at bat when the time comes.
I think you saw in the All-Star break, and you've seen this season already, that he carries himself a lot more older than he is, right? Seems to be a little edge to him. No, a lot of edge to him. I mean, he's competitive. I mean, not that major league players aren't. They all are competing, but he just seems to have that little extra edge that takes you a step further.
100%. 100%. He reminds me a lot of Bobby Witt Jr. With a little bit more power, but not as much speed as Bobby Witt. But both of those guys are going to be stars in the game of baseball for a very long time.
Yeah, good pick, Zach. Nice job. I like that pick. Do you think he'll eventually become a DH down the road?
I mean, it's tough to say. I think he could go to third base if he gets a little bit bigger down the road. He could go play first base like what Bryce Harper is doing right now. I think he's very athletic, so it would take a while for him to get to DH status. I mean, especially with the Orioles, they are going to be set up to be really good for a long time. So I could see them just going and acquiring a DH, at the deadline in the off season. So I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon. But I think they're going to stick him at shortstop as long as possible.
Yeah. All right, good pick. All right, let's go to son number 2, Ty. Who's your pick this season so far?
Well, it might surprise you, actually, being a Mets fan, that I picked a Yankee.
What?
I did. I went with Aaron Judge. He's just having a monster season. I mean, going into the All-Star break, he was well over 30 home runs. I mean, I think his career high for a season is 62 home runs, and he's hitting over 300. I could see him breaking that career high 62 home runs and maybe getting into the 65, 66 range of home runs this year, because he's had a ton of games where if he's hitting a home run, he might be hitting a second home run. I think he's had 3 or 4 multi-home run games this season. I mean, he's just on fire and just no sign of slowing down anytime soon.
Well, I think a lot of us expected big things from the Yankees last year. I know I did. I predicted them last year to win the World Series, and that went nowhere. But I think the addition of Juan Soto to the lineup, right, has helped him immensely.
Yeah, it has a lot, and it's almost unfair to watch because they're just so stacked. But yeah, definitely having Juan Soto has helped a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so that lineup now is scary. Juan Soto's doing great, but yeah, Aaron Judge having another career MVP season, and we'll see how it shakes out at the end. 65 home runs would be pretty cool if he was able to get into those numbers.
I think he'll definitely beat his season high of 62. I really could see it happening.
All right, good pick. All right, let's go to Zane. Who are you picking, Zane?
The person I'm picking is it's probably more of a little bit of a personal pick, just because I'm going with Ranger Suarez, pitcher from the Phillies. When we went out to the East Coast, me and my wife for our honeymoon last year, we went to a Phillies game, and Ranger Suarez was starting fresh off the IL, and I'm like, I've never really heard of this guy. And people were like, oh, fans around us were like, oh, awesome, Rangers back. And he stunk. It was really bad. I'm like, this guy stinks. Why are these people so happy? And then I started looking into him a little bit more, and he had a pretty good 2022 season for them. Then struggled in 23, but he's having a really good 2024. He's already got he had 10 wins, going into the All-Star break, which is the most he's had. I think 22 he had 10 wins on the whole year, and he already had that going into the All-Star break. So, ERA is below 3, and the Phillies are just doing really, really well this year. I think they have going into the All-Star break, they had a 9 or 10 game lead on the NL East. So, he's kind of holding down that pitching staff for them, and he's doing really, really good for the Phillies. So, that's kind of a little bit personal pick on my end to see him have a really good year after when I saw him, and I was like, oh, this guy stinks.
Yeah, I like that though, because that's what it takes. I mean, we get to watch a lot of games on TV. We get to watch games highlights and so forth. But when you're at a stadium to watch a player live and in person, right? That's when you really appreciate the talent they have. Even if they have a bad day, you can then watch them, see how they're going to follow up a bad day and see if they get better. There's no doubt his stuff is electric. I think a lot of people are noticing him this year. He's on the All-Star team this year, right?
Yeah, he made the All-Star team.
Yeah, he was on the All-Star team, and has definitely been brought up many times in the conversation. So he's having an incredible year. Good pick, Zane. I went with the pitcher as well. I mentioned this guy on a previous podcast just because I have been a big fan of Tarik Skubal, number 29 for the Detroit Tigers. He's age 27, so he's not a kid anymore. He's actually, Zach, you probably know this better than anyone, that 26, 27, 28 range, when the players are really starting to find their own. They've got some experience. They've gone through the minor leagues. Maybe they had a cup of coffee and had some, maybe had some failure at the major league level. Come back, refine themselves, learn their game, kind of, work into becoming a major league player. And when they're 27, 28, 29, that seems to be some of the best years for these young players. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you can be a good player into your 30s, 40s, or even 50s, like Bartolo Colon. But, I think he is hitting his stride. He's definitely established himself as the number one pitcher for the Tigers. Going into the All-Star break, he was 10-3 at 10 wins already, 2.37 ERA, a whip of 0.90, 110 inning pitch going into the All-Star break, and 10 wins. Incredible. He didn't in 2020s when he first made his first start for the Tigers. That year he only picked up 1 win, 21 8 wins, 22 7 wins, 23 7 wins. And people are going like, okay, well, when is this guy going to show up, right? Well, it was 2024. His changeup, his best pitch. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see him pitch on a regular basis or at all, but I think a changeup is probably one of the most effective pitches at any level of baseball, right? Especially when you're playing against top-notch competition. They're used to seeing the fastball. A good hitter can hit a good fastball. Fastball with movement's much better, but a changeup thrown in the right spot is going to fool them every time. Ty, I think you can relate most. That was probably your best pitch, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was by far my best pitch because my curveball was okay, but I wasn't very consistent with it. I didn't throw fast, so I relied heavily on my changeup, and I would start with a changeup. I'd throw it to a left-handed batter almost half the time. I would just start them off with a changeup, and they would be like, "What the heck? This is 40 miles an hour. I'm way out in front of it," and then I blow a 75-mile-an-hour fastball right by them.
It looks a lot faster than 75. I'll tell you that. I guess we should go to the lefties, Zane and Zach. Have you guys had a chance to see Tarik Skubal pitch?
No, I haven't, just because we're blacked out here in Indiana and northern Indiana, so I can't get the Tigers games, unfortunately.
I've watched him a little bit, a couple starts, but I definitely see all of his clips. Like if Pitching Ninja ever posts him, things like that, I can see his stuff. It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. So he's definitely, like I said, definitely become the ace. He's had a breakout year at 10 wins. He's in the conversation for Cy Young in 2024, and he's definitely has become a topic of conversation for those that watch pitching. I believe, Zach, you might know better than me. I heard someone talk about how the AL Central, and I've talked about this on other podcasts, where it was the worst division in baseball, and now this year seems to be one of the best divisions in baseball. It seems like there's another left-handed pitcher from Kansas City that's getting a lot of attention too. I don't remember who that is, but they were saying that the American League Central has some really good left-handed pitchers.
Yeah, that's Cole Reagan's, and he was just traded to the Royals last year. and I believe it was mid-year, and he just started going off the second half of the season, and they were like, "Oh man, this guy's actually pretty good." So he used to be a reliever, and they were projecting him to have a really good season, and he's been awesome so far this season for the Royals. So I don't know if he's like top five to be in that Cy Young conversation, but he's definitely top 10 in the American League for sure.
Yeah, and I think another player that I was looking at that Guardians roster, right? And because they've really shocked all of baseball by being that good this year in the AL Central. Stephen Kwan, I think, is having just a good breakout year for him. Where I didn't expect much from him, but he's having a great year for the Guardians. Are there any other players that have jumped out like that, other than like saying your top pick, but someone that just is a good team player and contributing a lot of power to a lineup?
Someone that was kind of on my list that I almost picked was Chris Sale, and I talked about him in an earlier podcast. But Chris Sale's had a really good bounce back year, which has been great to see. Didn't do much for the Red Sox, but it's good to see him kind of get back to form and back to himself and kind of dominating down there in Atlanta. So he's probably another one that I would mention.
Yeah, good choice there. I know, Zach, we'll talk about Teoscar Hernandez, right? And me being the big Dodgers fan.
No, the other guy I was going to mention who's just been so fun to watch is Ellie De La Cruz. And last year he was kind of racking up stolen bases, just like running like crazy, stealing home and stuff. But he wasn't really getting on base that much to be able to make stuff happen. I mean, he did. I don't think he started the season in the major leagues. They called him up a couple months in or so. But this year, he's already has more stolen bases this year than he did all of last year. He has 45 stolen bases at the time we're recording this, and the next closest guy is 29. Like he's getting on base more this year, and when he gets on, he steals, and he's just so fun to watch.
Oh, and the crowds love him too. And I was down there for Reds opening day this year. He comes to the plate and he's just got an electricity about him. He gets up to the plate and you want him to get on base. I mean, you will him get on base because you want to see him run the bases and make the game exciting. And that's what he brings to the game. Yeah, if he can get on base, he's going to steal. He's going to steal second, steal third, and he might steal home.
And a cannon for an arm.
Yes. Yeah. Good choices, everyone. Ty, anyone else you want to mention, or you good?
I mean, we can mention the obvious. Ohtani, of course. It was just,
yeah.
I mean, just unreal. But someone that's surprising, who's not necessarily having crazy stats or crazy numbers, but is your buddy Jose Iglesias. Because
yeah,
come June, me and you were kind of joking, like, did you see who the Mets signed? Iglesias. What is he going to do? But he's actually, he joined the club, and he's kind of just been the clubhouse guy. And he kind of, around June, with the whole song he performed on the field, like randomly after a game, he's kind of just bringing everyone together.
Yeah, I mean, the guy can field. I mean, he's a great defensive player, and he'll make some incredible plays. But yeah, it's good to see. I mean, he's always had a little pop in his bat too, right?
Yeah, and he's had some pretty solid games. He really has. So it's pretty surprising.
Awesome. Candelita.
All right, guys. Well, I think that wraps up this weekend's show. I appreciate everyone joining us here for the podcast. It's always fun to get together and talk a little baseball. Ty, where can people get more information about Big League Dreaming, the podcast, if they want to tune in on a regular basis?
Yeah, you can follow us on TikTok at Big League Dreaming. Well, we're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, at BLD Pod. That's at BLDPOD. And wherever you're listening to your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Big League Dreaming the podcast, and of course here on YouTube, Big League Dreaming the podcast. Every new episode Saturday at 9. We'll see you next week.